As in the days of Noah, so it shall be in the coming of the Son of Man. That's what we're studying at the moment. And my study today looks at child sacrifice, abortion, and gender confusion. Abraham lived about 2040 BC, 4,000 years ago. He was a man who believed God, and God called him out from his household, moon worshippers. He said, get out from your household. Go south to a land that I will show you. So he did that. He obeyed God. That new land is now known as Israel. But in those days it was called the land of Canaan. We find this account in Genesis 12, verses 1 to 6. In verse 6, and the Canaanite was then in the land. Molech and Baal were the Canaanite gods, and they demanded child sacrifices. And on a large scale, it was part of their culture. Archeological excavations in 1921 have found thousands and thousands of charred skulls of youngsters in the same area of Shechem and Bethel where Abraham lived. These are called Tophet, Tophet, ceremonies because the cremated remains were put into urns. About 20,000 infants were found in huge urns in that area where Abraham lived. Now Moses had warned the Israelites, do not do these abominable things that the Lord hates, which they do for their gods, because they pass their sons and daughters through the fire. That's Deuteronomy 12:31. Jeremiah also wrote about these cruel practices. In Jeremiah 19:5, they built high places to burn their sons in the fire as burnt offerings to Baal. So these are the writings in Scripture about this practice. And bloodshed on a huge scale, especially amongst children, was commonplace before the flood. Now my question is there a parallel in our times of such large-scale killing of infants to add evidence to the truth that as in the days of Noah, so it shall be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man? Now I researched statistics for 3 large countries. In the USSR, in 1957, when accurate records were kept, until 1991, that's 34 years, there were over 306 million abortions. That was larger than the actual population of the USSR in 1991. In China, over a 50-year time span from 1971 to 2020, that country aborted more than 490 million young unborn children. And in the United States, since 1973, when abortion was legalized in the infamous Roe versus Wade trial, 62 million children have been sacrificed by abortion. Now, putting world statistics together, from 1980 to 2020, that's a 40-year time span, a staggering 2 billion, that's a B, billion lives have been sacrificed by abortion. That is 1/4 of the world's population. Now, wicked dictators in the past like Hitler, Stalin and Mussolini's awful deeds don't approach the number. They killed lots of people, but nothing like this number. Hitler did human experiments also, too gruesome to describe to you, but he aimed to produce an Aryan race, free from Jews and Christians. But modern day sex change operations go far further than he did. The truth is that we're all born with one gender, either male or female. But in the last decade, so-called progressive curriculum in schools and universities, that's being pushed on our youngsters. They go off to college from a Christian home maybe, and they hear all this stuff in university. They're taught they can have as much sex as possible with no limitations, doesn't matter whether it's the same sex or a different sex, and any unwanted babies that arrive, just abort them. And if they're not happy with their natural gender, they are encouraged to remedy that by physically undergoing surgery, the removal of girls' breasts or the removal of male penises. And this is accompanied with large hormonal treatment. They're confused in schools nowadays, in some areas, some countries, which toilets to use. This is part of the great delusion that we read in 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 11. What's more, ungodly laws have been passed in some countries, which if the common sense parents or God-fearing parents don't want this to happen to their kids who want to change, Mummy, I want to be a girl, or Mummy, I want to be a boy, that sort of stuff, those common sense parents are not allowed to stop their children from having their way. There are laws to stop them by removing the children from their homes and letting them have the operations. It's awful. The scale of such new levels of evil are now manifesting were previously unknown. This amount of evil in the world, it was previously unknown except for in pre-flood times. Such widespread murder, innocent blood of children, surely will trigger God's wrath. And God's wrath will come in the tribulation. In Matthew 24 verse 8, these are the birth pangs. We see this happening in the world today, and these are the birth pangs of the tribulation. We're not in the tribulation yet. We won't see it, but it's on the way. The baby's on the way. Thankfully, in 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 9, God did not appoint us to wrath. And then just a few verses earlier in 1 Thessalonians 4 and verse 16, why? Because the Lord himself will descend from heaven with the sound of an archangel's trumpet to snatch us away. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. Thank God for his mercy in saving us from this wicked generation.